Hi everyone, no one. Welcome back to Nobody Asked Though. I'm Nancy, no friends. Maybe I do have some friends watching by this point, I'm not sure. It literally took me 4 days to upload my first video. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm sure I'll figure it out as I go. But yeah, 4 days to upload that video. So I'm kind of like 3 videos ahead at the moment because I thought it would upload straight away and I'd have to then upload another one like a day or 2 later or the following week or something. So I just recorded it straight away the next day. And then it took me 4 days to upload the first one. But that's okay. That's fine. I'll get there. I'm going to jump straight into this one. I'm not marking off where we're finishing in the videos before. So I'm pretty sure I know where we finished in the last one. So we'll start there tonight. But I do have a couple of notes on just a couple of things we've already gone over because as I've mentioned a couple of times, I think the more times you go over something, the more information you can get. So I listened back to a couple of the videos that I recorded just to make sure the sound was okay, that they looked okay, because obviously I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm just starting. And there's a couple of things I just wanted to mention. So she said that's what I do know, right? And she said that twice now. That's what I do know. And I just noticed that. So that kind of means, right, I think we went over it already, but just a quick recap. So that's what I do know, because there's things that I don't know, right? So she's already setting it up that she doesn't know stuff, that she can't remember or she doesn't know, because she's not going to tell us everything. She's already decided that. And is that because she doesn't remember much, or is that because she doesn't want to tell us because it could be bad for her if she does? My opinion, I guess I should say it again. Everything that I say in these videos, in this video, every video prior and every video following is purely opinion, and anyone that is not judicially guilty is obviously judicially innocent. Okay, so everything in this video, my analysis, everything that I say is all alleged and my opinion. Okay, all of it. Let's just say all of it. There are things that I'm going to mention that are factually correct and they are in what's it called, the evidence, like they're in the I don't know what it's called, the file or whatever. There's another mental blank. And that's fine. We know what's true. We know what's fact. We all know that, because if you're watching this, then you're on Watts Island anyway. We know this. So let's just say, for safety, for ease, that everything that I say in this video is alleged and my opinion, okay? If we know it's true, we know it's true. We don't have to talk about it. We don't have to say it's true in the video, all right? I'm not really going to go over many details of the case anyway. I'm only really going to go through my analysis. This is all fair use of the... Well, I'm not even playing the videos, so it doesn't really matter. I will mention the channel that I did the transcribing from the video of the interview, because I think I should give them a shout out, but I can't remember what it's called right now. So I'll do that later. Yeah, I can't remember what that's called right now. But I've given him plenty of views because I've watched it so many times over and over and over to do this transcript. So that's what I do know. So it already oh my goodness, it's going to be a very long night, guys. I'm super tired. I'm in a lot of pain today as well because I have a back injury. It's caused me to gain a lot of weight. My lifestyle's completely changed because I couldn't really move. I was basically intermittently paralyzed for a while, sort of over a course of like a year to 2 years. And then when I wasn't paralyzed, which is very, very, very short increments of like, you know, a week, a few days, and that happened a few times over a couple of years. But because of that, I couldn't really move a lot in between because I didn't want it to get triggered and happen again. and I was in a lot of pain. So it's getting a lot better, but I still am in quite a lot of pain. But today, I don't know what I've done, but I'm in quite a lot of pain. So my memory, the blanks might be a bit worse in this video. I hope they're not, but it's already started. So whatever. It already indicates that she's in her mind, whether it's because she's decided or she just knows because she doesn't remember, that there's going to be things she's not going to tell us. She's not going to tell us everything that she knows. Well, she's not going to tell us everything, okay? Whether it's because she's not going to tell us everything she knows and she's decided that nefariously, is that the word? Or because she knows that she just doesn't remember stuff. Like with trauma, sometimes you don't remember everything, and you get flashes, and this stuff's missing, and you're missing time. And so with trauma, that does happen. Either way, it does indicate that she is already aware of that, okay? That she's not going to be telling us everything, that she's not going to know everything, right? Whether that's true or not. Has my cat just jumped down into a hole he can't get out of again? I'm listening for the scratch and slide. He jumps down into this area that he can't get back out of, and then I have to go and move like a huge cupboard to let him out. I better go check. I'll be back. No, he's good. Okay. So I noticed that both of the instances where she's said this so far. So once was when she gave a couple of digits of Chris's number to Kevin. It's a 910 number. You guys have it. What exactly does she say? Let's see. I've got it written here because I went back and found it. I don't have it anymore, Kevin. If I recited it to you, would you know it, Nikki? Just the first three numbers, Kevin. But you know it as a 910 number, Nikki. Yes, that's what I do know. Okay, so the three numbers in his phone number, the 3 digits in his phone number, yes, that's what I do know. Okay, so she's accurately given us 3 numbers of his phone number. And then here she says around Father's Day. It was Father's Day shortly after that. And that's what I do know. Okay. So the 2 instances where she said that so far have both been immediately following giving a specific detail, okay, or giving accurate information, okay? And then she said straight away, that's what I do know, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to note when she says this throughout, okay? Because what I've noticed from these 2 examples, and it will either continue or it will not continue and it'll change, is that immediately following accurate information, she's saying, so that's what I do know. Now, is this because she's placating the interviewer and giving a little bit where it's safe in order to then not give the information where it's unsafe, not give information that she doesn't want to give, important information, so that it doesn't look like she's just not saying, so it doesn't look like she's just saying, I don't remember, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, okay? Because that might seem fake. It might seem like she's not trying to help, and of course that doesn't fit her narrative. Her narrative is that she's helpful, she's innocent, she didn't know about this isn't her fault, you know, she's a victim here, she's kind, she's a good person. Like, this is her narrative. So if she's just going, I don't know, 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 and not helping in this case where something so awful has happened, it's not going to look very good for her. It's not going to fit her narrative and help her to push her narrative, okay? So is she doing it because of that? Or is she doing it because she's accidentally giving accurate information? She's accidentally confirming accurate information and being specific and giving detail. And then because it's accidental, she's immediately following it with, that's what I do know. Because she's trying to say, oh yeah, I know that, but I don't know other things, right? Just because I know that doesn't mean I know all the things that you want me to tell you or that you're going to ask me. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, it could be either one of those, and it could be both. It could be one of those things sometimes and the other times, right? So that's why we're going to note it every time. And this is one of those things that I mentioned. I had that little side book and I was writing things down to find patterns and themes in her language. That's one of those things. So that's to give you an idea of what I was doing with that book. The other thing, I should get it out. Maybe I'll get it out in the next video because I don't have it right here with me right now. And I want to sort of get a little bit more into the analysis because it's taking quite a long time on every video. We're going through only a few sentences and I want people to be able to really get stuck into it and not, I don't know, I don't think it's boring, but I don't want to bore anybody because I don't know if everyone finds this as interesting and fascinating as I do. So I might go through that book a little bit later. Maybe we'll just pick out the ones that we've already seen when we get a little bit further in. But that's just, obviously, I've mentioned a couple of things that I've noticed right now. The pattern with the time, with the timeline, messing with time, being vague with time. She doesn't want us to have markers and indicators for a timeline. She wants that to remain blurred and vague, and yeah, she doesn't want us to be able to accurately mark things out. And also playing with time. I don't think that she's being completely honest about how long she has known of Chris, whether it's she's known him for longer or she's just known of him for longer. I don't think she's being honest about that. So time is coming up over and over and over again in her language. Her narrative, that she's pushing her narrative, not only that she's innocent, she's good, she's kind, she's moral, she has values, she, you know, would never do this, she's a victim, she didn't know, it's not her fault. But also as a part of that narrative, she's also pushing that Chris is to blame. So she's got very accusatory language when it comes to Chris. So it's all, he did this and he didn't that and he didn't tell me that, and you know, it's going to come out more. So we'll obviously go over it and note it and discuss it when it comes up. There is another one I just had in my mind and it's gone like a puff of smoke. The other thing I wanted to mention was that she said he didn't tell me, he didn't even mention his kids right away either. The right away there, again, so it's a time reference, right, which we add to our pattern of time references. But he did tell her about his kids right away. He did mention them right away because like I went through in the last video, we've got our little time markers here of when she met, because she gave away Father's Day, and then when everything happened. So we've got an end date, and she's given us sort of a rough start date area time frame by accident, I think. So we've got that. And the whole time is very short period. So I think they only were seeing each other for roughly around 6 weeks, okay? And that's in her statement later. And it's roughly the time frame that was found through evidence and stuff as well. So right away, and she's talking in the negative, so he didn't even tell me right away. He did tell her early on, okay? Because she's speaking in the negative, it makes it important. So why is she mentioning this? She's mentioning it because he did, but she's trying to make him look bad, and she's trying to push her narrative, right? And she's trying to make us think that he was hiding it from her, right? So I do think that he did. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video. I can't remember, and I wasn't going to watch the whole video just to see what I said. But I do think he told her early on about the kids, because their whole relationship halfway through would still be early on, really, you know, when with regards to time, the timeline. So I do think that he told her early on sort of right away, and that's subjective. Right away is subjective. So there's subjective information and there's objective information, right? So objective information is information that doesn't change from one person to another. If you say it, it means exactly that. It doesn't matter who's saying it. It doesn't matter when they're saying it, in what context, or any, it doesn't change. Okay, that's objective. For instance, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is 2 p.m. Okay, whatever time, wherever you are in the world and whatever the time is there. Okay, we're not gonna. That's irrelevant. Because if you say 2 p.m., it's 2 p.m. in reference to wherever you're talking about the time. Okay, and the time doesn't change. Like there's not 40 hours in one day somewhere in the world. Okay, it's 24 hours in a day. It's 12 to 12, right? Noon and midnight, and all the time in between is all the time in between. So if you say 2 p.m., it means 2 p.m. It means 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, that's what that means. If you were to say morning, then that is subjective. That's different. That could be different from person to person. It could be different from contextually. So, if you're a person that gets up really early and you say, oh, I was up this morning, you could mean 6 a.m. You could mean 4 a.m., right? I got up this morning, okay? But if you're a person that works night shift or something and you sleep until 11 a.m., then 11 a.m. is the morning to you, but it's later on. It's nearly afternoon. It's nearly noon, right? So morning is not specific and it is subjective because people can mean different things when they say it, okay? So regardless of the fact that it means it's not the afternoon, okay, it's the morning, it still could mean any time. There's no specific time, whereas 2 p.m. is a specific time. So that's the difference between 2 p.m. and, subjective and objective. The other thing is boy. Boy is a good example. A boy could mean, an 18-year-old that's joining the army. It could mean a baby that's just been born and, it's got certain colors for a gender reveal or something like that. Boy is another thing that's subjective. So you have to be aware of subjective and objective language, and objective language never changes. It always stays the same. Okay, but anything else is subjective. So right away could mean anything, any period of time to Nicole. However, because she's speaking in the negative about it, he didn't tell me, and it's irrelevant. The fact that she's telling us, I think he did, she knows he told her basically straight away, okay? But she wants us to think he didn't. And I don't think he did tell her right away, as in immediately when he met her, because that would be strange anyway. So it would be normal for someone to not tell you immediately, but she's using that to try and make him look bad, okay? That's just a couple of things I wanted to go over. I still can't remember that other thing I was thinking before. If it comes to me, we'll just insert it in and we'll talk about it. But right now, I can't remember. Oh, it was money. Is another theme I've noticed, and a pattern I've noticed in her language I've picked up so far. But that's not necessarily due to the analysis I've done so far. That is from listening to her interviews over and over and over and over and over again. When I was just listening to her interviews and analyzing without transcribing, just in my head, just for myself, over the last few years, just being interested in this case and listening, because obviously I have been trained in statement analysis and I wanted to see what was going on. And there was so much. The reason I started doing this was because there's so much information in her language. So I thought I need to start writing this down. I need to do this properly, because there was a couple of things she mentioned and it just convinced me that she knows a lot more than she's saying. And I think she knows a lot of important, really important information, and she won't tell us. So can I extract it from what she is telling us and will tell us? So then I started writing it down. But I noticed she mentions money a lot. Okay, so we'll get to that when we get there. It's much further on in the interview than I have transcribed so far. But just things like she noticed when he was using a different card and the balance on his gift cards and this and that. And then everything in Shanann's house looked very expensive and the car was expensive. And then she talks about how she doesn't need fancy things. And then she talks about her own house and how everything, you would never know that it wasn't expensive, all of her stuff. It's just, she's always referencing money and kind of, not just money, but how money is perceived, like image, you know, status type stuff. Anyway, we'll get to that later. So we were up to, I believe, where she said, nope, that's not it. Bear with me. And then he told me that those two were in the process of a separation. So I think we completed that one last time. Then Kevin says, did he mention the children's name or the significant other's name? So it's frustrating me that he's interrupting. I don't think he should interrupt. But he has, okay? He has. So he's asked specifically, did he mention the children's name? Notice how he didn't say kids. He didn't say the kids or his kids. He said children. It's just a nicer word. It's just a nicer word to use for the kids. See, I've just said the kids. In the context of what's happened. So he's even tried to use a softer, more sort of affectionate, less sort of cold, impersonal word to reference the children. Okay, the girls, Bella and CeCe. Let's say their names because we should say their names. Or the significant other's name, or the significant other's name. So he's used her language here, which is good. It's good because he hasn't introduced, they've made such a mess down there. It's good because he hasn't introduced any language. He's using her own language, which keeps the interview, even though he is interrupting and asking questions, he's using her language, so it keeps the interview in her language, in her own words, okay? So he's not introducing language that's not hers, so he's not contaminating her language, okay? Which he did do before. So he's not done that here. And I think it's good that he's said children here, because I think that even though it's not her language, I think it's going to, how do I want to explain this? If she's saying the kids, his kids, the kids, blah, 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 and then he says, did he mention the children's name? She might think, oh, the children, right? Oh, yeah, they're children, right? She might feel bad about, like there might be some guilt because he's softened it when he said it to her. So he might, if there's any heartstrings in there to tug on, maybe tug on one. I don't think there is. Allegedly, in my opinion. I don't think there is, but we'll find out maybe, I guess. Can't hurt, I don't think. Had he used a more affectionate or sort of personal or a warmer way to refer to Shanann, I think that would have been a mistake, because I think that would have got her back up. Because she hates Shanann. She doesn't like her. She hates that she was Chris's wife. She hates everything that she was, right? And I don't think she hated her as a person because she didn't know her. I think she probably would have if she had known her anyway, because people like Nicole can't stand people like Shanann, let's be honest. And I'm not going to explain why, because if you know, you know. We've all met people like that, and they hate nice people because maybe it reflects everything to them that they're not and they can't be, and they hate, it makes them sick. So, allegedly, in my opinion. He's used her language here, he's kept it cold, and then if he started mentioning Shanann affectionately, it might annoy her, okay? But by mentioning her sort of in a cold way, an impersonal way, she's like, okay, good, we're on the same page here. You don't care for Shanann either, right? I don't know, but I think that was a good choice. If you are going to interrupt, use the subject's own words, okay? Nicole then says, I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. But to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know. Okay. So I've written her full response here, which this is what I've done moving forward. I've written her full response until someone else speaks. Because Kevin does speak a lot in this interview. And then I've broken it down into sort of sentences, okay, to analyze, because we're going word by word, it is a lot to do it all in one hit like that. It's easier to sort of break it up. And like I said, because she's speaking, it's hard to know when the sentence is finished. So I've just grouped the words together so it sounded like that was a sentence, okay, and finished it where it made sense to finish it, not like in the middle of two words that would clearly follow on from one another. I didn't know his significant other's name for a while, okay? That did not answer the question. Did he mention the children's name or the significant other's name? Now, he's mentioned the children first, and then the significant other. She has gone straight to the significant other, because the significant other is at the front of her mind. It is then her focus. It is she goes straight there, right? It affects her the most, okay? You mention his wife, significant other, Shanann, that is where all her focus goes, because that is where all of her resentment and hatred and everything was focused in on, okay? So it's like when you're shooting a missile, right? It locks onto that. That's the target, okay? Oh, that's a horrible thought. But yeah, it locks onto the target, right? So that's what she's done. In this sentence of included other things, she's locked straight onto Shanann, because that is the most important, or not important. That's where all her energy and her focus is, and her thoughts and everything, okay? I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. So she didn't answer the question. It could have been yes or no. Right? Did he mention the children's name or the significant other's name? Yes, he did. Then she could have said their names, right? Yes, he did. Well, she didn't even have to say their names, because he's just asked if he mentioned their names. And yes, he did. Yes, he told me their names, right? That would be the answer to that question. And then if he wanted to know, if he wanted her to say the names, he could then follow up with what are their names or something. He could ask a follow-up question. But she didn't answer the question. So now she didn't know his significant other's name for a while. So here's another reference to time, okay? And it comes up over and over and over again. And a while, their whole relationship wasn't even a while, okay? Subjectively, a while indicates a long period, okay? But again, as an example of subjective language, a while could be someone going on holiday. I'm going for a while. Maybe they go for 6 months. Maybe they go for a year and a half, right? They could go for a while, could be a long time if you're waiting for someone to come back. A while could also be how long you wait for your doctor's appointment that day. And you've booked for 10 o'clock and you don't get in till 10:30, 11:15. So it's gone from periods of months to periods of hours, right? That's subjective language. So she said in here, I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. We don't know how long a while is. She doesn't tell us, okay? And this is how she is being vague. This is how she's trying to pretend that she's giving information and helping and wants to help, but she doesn't. And she's not giving information because the information that she's giving is subjective. So even though she's telling us she didn't know for a while, we don't know how long a while is. So she's not telling us anything. I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. She's not even telling us that he told her the name there, okay? She's speaking in the negative. And I didn't know is the first part of her sentence. Now, like I keep saying, language analysis is based only on their language in the analysis, right? We don't take in outside information. However, because this is for the purposes of what it's for the purposes of, and we do have information about the case, and we're trying to find more. We're trying to find information we don't already know. And we know that she Googled Shanann's name a year prior. I can't remember. 2016? Oh, goodness me. I should have written that down. Sorry. I really don't like it when people give out incorrect information in a video, because I think you should do your homework and you should know the information. And if you're going to mention something, it should be correct. So I do apologize if that's not right. But what I'm referring to is the information that came out in the case file, which is confirmed and verified information, where they found Google searches done by Nicole, and she Googled Shanann's name many months, whether it was a year, I'm not sure, prior to starting work at Anandarko when she allegedly met Chris. So she knew of Shanann a while before, okay? So I mean, we know this when we're doing this analysis, even though for the purposes of analysis, we wouldn't know that because it's not in here, but we do know that, okay? So we know that she's lying here, but we can tell that from the language anyway, because she's not saying she didn't know her name until a specific time. She's saying, I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. That could be she didn't know her name for a while before she knew of Shanann, before she Googled her. She didn't know her name for a while. She didn't know her name for Nicole's entire life until she found out about Shanann and Googled her. So yeah, that's a true statement, right? But it's the context. And the context is a question about when she found out, or Chris told her, that he had a partner. And this is what she chooses to say. Did he mention the children's name or the significant other's name? I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. Okay. I also do believe that Chris likely didn't mention Shanann's name right away out of guilt, because I believe he was interested in Nicole, and I've explained my opinion before that I do think he liked the attention from Nicole, and I don't think he wanted to scare her off, and I think he was kind of interested, or didn't want her to know that, or didn't want her to think he wasn't interested. And so I do think he probably didn't mention her name right away. He might have even not mentioned it unless Nicole asked him. So he might have mentioned that he was married, and she said, oh, what's your wife's name? And he's told her. We don't know this because we weren't there, okay? But her language will give things away. So, note she doesn't say he didn't tell me his significant other's name for a while. She says, I didn't know, because she did know her name, okay? So this is where leakage comes in, and we can extract information from her language. So she, having said that, had she said, he didn't tell me his significant other's name for a while, it still doesn't answer the question, okay? It still doesn't say, yes, he told me her name. She's still saying, oh, he didn't tell me her name for a while. It's still the same, but the way it's different is that the brain knows what it knows, right? So this is leakage, right? Because she's not saying, well, he didn't tell me. She's saying, I didn't know his significant other's name. Because she did know. This is also spoken in the negative, right? I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. She did know her name already. And that's why she's used this language of knowing. Because the brain knows what it knows. And while trying to lie, and while trying to say that you didn't know, or you don't know what you know, you're thinking about what you know in order to try and avoid giving it away. Right? Because just say, if you pushed someone into a river, right, and maybe they drowned, maybe they were okay, but they said that someone pushed them into a river and maybe they didn't see who it was, okay? So no one knows it's you, but you know you did it. So when someone asks you what you did that day, you know that you've pushed someone into the river, and you're trying to not say that, but it's there the whole time. So you're trying to talk around it, but at the same time, you're trying to think about everything that did happen, that you know did happen, because you need to make sure that you don't accidentally give anything away. So like, you don't want to say, I went down to the river, because that's where someone got pushed. So you might want to say, well, I rode my bike for a while, but you don't want to say where to, right? So you've got to remember all the details of what happened while you're trying to not say what happened. And so that's why things will leak out, because your brain is holding this sponge full of water, and it's trying to not let any of the water drip out, right? It's trying to hold it all in there like this, but water is leaking and dripping down your arms and is leaking out because you can't hold it all in there. So by saying she didn't know his significant other's name for a while, she's kind of just giving it away that she knew her name already, okay? And like I said, we know that because we know she Googled her, okay? So we know this, but it shows itself in the language, okay? It's just good that we know it because we can verify that. Yes, she did. So when I analyze this and I say she knew his name or her name already because of the language here, and we go, well, yes, she did. So it confirms it. So she's mentioning her first, not the kids, even though he did ask about the kids first, the children first. Again, we don't know how long a while is. Significant other again. Now, this is the second time she's said this, but, and this is the problem, Kevin. This is the problem, Kevin, okay? He's used her language here. Yes, that's great, because he hasn't introduced any new language and contaminated her language any further right here, okay? But what he has done is he's used her language here in a question, and she's just used it straight back to him. So we can't analyze this language now because it was in his question, okay? So, because when you repeat language in statement analysis, it's important. It means that language is really important, okay? But this doesn't mean that now because he's said it in a question. Did he mention the significant other's name? I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. She's using the language he used, okay? And even though it's her language, because it's in a question and she's repeated it, that now it kind of doesn't count, okay? She didn't have to use his language, right? She could have said, I didn't know Shanann's name for a while. She could have said that. That would have been better. That would have been what we would have wanted to have heard from her, because that would not be so distancing and cold. But we can't analyze this now, okay? But for a while, okay, yep. We know that we don't know how long a while is, so okay, thank you for that. It's a subjective measurement or unit of time. So we don't know what that is. She didn't tell us. Also note, this is another reference to time, like I mentioned before. So like I said, I'm kind of analyzing this as I read through it. And then I'm going through my notes. So there will be some stuff that I repeat, but like I said, you get more information every time you go over something. So I am extracting more information when we're going through this than what I actually have in my notes most of the time. Last time he didn't mention his kids for a while, which we know to have meant roughly a week. Hang on, let's go back and just revisit that. So just a couple of sentences ago. And then, okay, I was like, that's pretty cool. Oh, it must be further back than I thought. No, it was right away. I don't think it was specifically a while. I think it was right away. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments, but I think it was right away with the kids, not a while again. So, where am I? But right away, a while, right away was roughly a week. So a while could be 2 weeks. But she's not specific about how long it is. She keeps it vague. It's subjective. She uses the same accusatory language here again. That he didn't tell her for a while. Like he was trying to hide it or something. She didn't know his significant other's name for a while. So it's like she's making herself look innocent while she's making him look like he was hiding something and withholding. It's the constant narrative pushing of her image, right? The undertones of making it seem like he was withholding and hiding things from her. She also says here that she didn't know his significant other's name for a while. She doesn't say that he didn't tell her, okay? We said that before, which is what she was asked. The officer specifically asked if Chris mentioned the children's name or the significant other's name. She doesn't say that he did or didn't. She doesn't say mentioned or told. The affair specifically, sorry, I can't read my writing because I'm writing so fast. The officer specifically asked if Chris Chris Watts mentioned his significant other's name. She does not say he did or didn't. She says she didn't know it for a while. This indicates to me that she already knew before he told her, right? Because she feels the need to tell us that she didn't know for a while. And she says she didn't know, not that he didn't tell her, rather than whether or not or when he told her, which was the question. The brain knows what it knows. The brain is focused on what she knew, not if or and when he told her. I would be open to the possibility that she didn't find out Shanann's name from him and she knew it before he mentioned it, which we know that she did because of the Google searches, okay? This one's still bothering me. We might come back to it. I'm going to move on for now because I don't want to spend too much time thinking. I don't want too many sort of quiet parts in the video where I'm just sitting here thinking to myself because I'm analyzing like in real time. So, and then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. But he didn't mention them right away, but he told me their names pretty quick. Not after he mentioned them. She doesn't say, okay, and then is missing time, right? Which again is another reference to time. It's another, we can add that to our pattern and our theme of time and hiding time and missing time and vague time, right? She's thinking about something here that she's leaving out. It's missing information, right? So, and then, when you say and then, you're still thinking about something else, right? You're thinking about the and then. What happened and then the thing. So, you can give an example. Okay, so when I was learning about this, I was looking for examples of these things in everyday life to test them out. Peter Hyatt says you should always try and blow holes in everything, right? You should test out. I get very emotional when I talk about him, sorry. But he says you should always try and disprove everything because only if you can't disprove it, then you know it's proven, right? It's true, it works. So he was always saying, go out and look for these examples and try and disprove them. Try and find an example of this where it doesn't mean what it means in statement analysis, right? Go and look for them. Seek them out, okay? So every time I would hear something like this come up, I would just stop the person or I would just mention after, you know, they're telling me a story or whatever. And my sister was telling me one day she was having a busy day or whatever it was. And I remember she told me she went to the shops and then she left the shops and went to a different shop. Now, to go to a different shop, you have to leave the other shop. You can't stay at this shop and also go to another shop. You have to leave you have to leave A to go to B, right? So you don't need to say that. You don't need to say you left there because you have to leave there. So that's the law of economy. It's useless. It's unnecessary information saying you left somewhere to go somewhere else. So she says, and then I left the shops to go to another shop. And I said to her, I said, what happened? I said, what happened before you left that first shop? Before you got to the second shop? I said, what happened there when you were leaving the shop? She's like, what do you mean? I said, what happened? Tell me about leaving that shop. I want to know more information about leaving the shop. It turned out that she, I think she couldn't remember where she parked her car or something. I think it was that she couldn't remember where she parked her car or she couldn't find her car keys in her handbag or something. She thought she'd left them in a shop. It was something like that. So there was panic and she couldn't leave right away. She got sort of stuck there and she was looking for her keys or thought she'd left her keys at a shop somewhere or she couldn't find her car. So she was searching for her car. So when she was telling me the story, of being at that shop and going to another shop. Instead of just saying, oh, I went to this shop and I went to this shop and I went to this shop and I went to this shop, she said, I went to this shop and then I left that shop and I went to this shop. You don't need to say that. So it flagged that time in her story, right? Flagged that time in her language, that spot, that area. It was sensitive, right? And this is the thing, just because someone's language is sensitive, just because there's red flags, it doesn't mean they're lying about something malicious or criminal, right? It just means there's something missing there. It means that's sensitive for some reason. This is why I get so frustrated with analysis when people say, oh, there's a red flag, they said this, that means they're lying. It's not that simple, and this is why you need formal training. And some of the people that I've heard saying this, I know they've had training. Like, I don't know where they had their training, but they've had training, and some of these people have degrees and they're very, very intelligent, very smart people, and I watch them and I enjoy watching them. But when I hear them do this, it really does make me annoyed. Just because you know someone's lying about something doesn't mean you know what they're lying about. Also, it might not be that they're lying. It might just be sensitive for some reason, okay? And then that reason may not be because they're lying or being deceitful. It can be, and often it is, but it's not always, all right? So, and then is missing information. She's still thinking about something when she's trying to, because her brain is sort of stuck there. It pauses there. It's hanging there for a minute. And then I think he told me his kid's names pretty quick. So did he tell her Shanann's name first? Or in her mind when she's saying this, is her mind dwelling on the fact that she already knew Shanann's name and thinking about how she found out Shanann's name originally before she met Chris, before Chris told her, how that came about? Because that could be what she's thinking of, because, and then follows on, I think he told me his kid's names pretty quick. She's putting knowing Shanann's name first in her language, and then I think he told me his kid's names pretty quick. She's not saying he told her Shanann's name here at all. She's saying she didn't know her name for a while, right? And we know she knew her name, but we don't know when she found out her name and how she found out. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. So the interviewer has asked it in the opposite order, like the reverse order. So then asked the children's first and then the significant other. She's mentioned the significant other first because Shanann is living in her mind rent-free, right? Shanann consumes her. The fact that he was married to Shanann, I think it consumed her, right? Allegedly, in my opinion. Consumed her. And then I think is a qualifier. Think is a qualifier. So she's speaking this first bit. Oh, there's an there too, so which reduces a conviction. So yeah, she's not confident about what she's about to say. So she's not confident in what she's about to say. She pushes out, I didn't know her name for a while, right? Which wasn't the question and doesn't answer the question. And doesn't say Chris told her at all. And then hiding information, missing information, jumping over in time. I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. Pretty is another qualifier. Think is a qualifier. Told me is not mentioned. I believe he did tell her his kids' names, whether she knew them already or not. She very well may have if she'd been on Shanann's social media, because Bella and CeCe were very prominent in Shanann's social media. Pretty quick. Not quickly. pretty quick. There are so many references to time here that I think the timeline is without a doubt in question, which I've mentioned already. I can't believe the time she is alluding to here, and she is being deliberately vague. She knew the significant other's name before she mentions it here, and I don't believe she found out by him telling her, because she didn't say he did. Also, we've already gone through that. I'm not going to go through it again. She can't even tell us that he told her his kids' names. She's qualifying with I think. I have to allow for the possibility she also knew the kids' names prior to him telling her, which I mentioned before. She could have found those out through Shanann's social media. Because of, I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. Now, that he very well probably did tell her his kids' names, right? They're kids here too, not children. So she's kept the significant others from his question, from his language, but he's gone from children, she's gone back to kids. She's distancing from the kids. She's distancing from the kids as well. Yeah, because she didn't copy his language in that. She didn't carry over she didn't take that word and use it. She's replaced it with her own word. She took significant other and used it. She didn't say Shanann. She didn't change it. She's happy with that label, right? That's a very cold, very distant, very impersonal label. She's happy with that. She kept it. Children's, she's changed back to his kids, right? It's less personal, it's less affectionate, it's colder, it's more distant. Yeah, okay, that I just noticed that. I don't know if it's in my notes, but I just noticed it just then. So yeah, I'm not saying he didn't tell her his kids' names. He probably did, but I would be open to the possibility she already knew them. In fact, I'd lean towards that, because she's trying to be vague here about when he told her his kids' names, because she knew them before. So she can't even confidently say when he told her their names. She should be able to say that. She should be able to tell us when he told her their names, but she can't, because she already knew their names. So I think maybe she doesn't want to give us the actual day, like time frame when he told her the kids' names. Or maybe because she already knew them, that is blurry in her mind and she can't remember when he told her. And it's safer not to say it, because again, if she makes a mistake, sort of like when the Father's Day slipped out, if she makes a mistake and we can verify that as true or false, that might hurt her story. That might hurt her account of things. Or it might give something away that she doesn't, it just might not be good for her, okay? Also, when referring to the kids rather than girls or Bella and CeCe or children, like I mentioned before, and pinching that from his language because he gave it to her. Again, she uses the word told rather than mentioned. Even though here as well, Kevin uses the word mention. So did he mention the children's name? I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. So he did tell her their names at some point. He told them. She's not using the word mention here. She's using the word told. I think this is, again, to make him look bad. Yeah. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. She could have said Bella and CeCe's names pretty quick, but she doesn't. Going back to the kids, which is, yeah, distancing his kids. not their kids, because she's just mentioned the significant other. Not the kids, not their kids. I didn't know his significant other's name for a while, and I think he told me their kids' names pretty quick. Nope, his kids. His kids, not Shanann. Not theirs. She doesn't want to acknowledge Shanann as the wife and mother. She doesn't want to acknowledge Shanann at all. At all. Anywhere. But refutes everything that comes before it. We've carried on here. She says pretty quick here again. So again, that's a qualifier, pretty quick. Quick is another mention of time, a reference to time. Pretty is subjective. Quick is subjective. Without giving us a specific or accurate time frame. Further supporting the pattern of her playing with the timeline and being vague when it comes to time. She references his kids again rather than the girls or Bella and CeCe or the kids or their kids or the children. But to be honest with you, but refutes everything that's come before it. So basically you can scribble out everything that comes before the but, right? It's not and, it's not additional, it's not cumulative, it's not like adding on. This happened and this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. But this happened. It cuts everything before it. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that very well. I like baseball, but I love basketball, right? So it reduces the liking of the baseball. I like ice cream, but I hate cream, right? It kind of, it makes what came before it insignificant. It's almost irrelevant, right? It's the after the but that's the important part. But to be honest with you, but get rid of all of that before. Get rid of it all. It's all irrelevant. It's all rubbish, right? To be honest with you, so were you not being honest before? Were you not being honest before? Why do you have to say you're being honest now? Also, by saying it, you're telling us you're not actually doing it. Because it's persuasion, and persuasion has a need to persuade. If you were being honest, you would just say it, and you wouldn't need to say you're being honest about it, because you're supposed to be being honest about everything from the start. So to say it here, now, it's a little bit sketchy. It's a little bit suspicious. I'm getting my red flag out and I'm listening to what you're about to say, because I think whatever you're about to say is going to be a load of crap. And I think what you've said before it now is also a load of crap, okay? But to be honest with you, now, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know. You've just said a while, pretty quick. Every reference to time you've given so far has been vague. And now you're saying an exact date of when that happened, I don't know. Why does the date of that happening matter? Because she already knew. She can't be specific because she doesn't know that they know about the Google searches, right, at this point. They haven't found them yet, I don't believe, because they haven't gone through all of her stuff yet. Why is she telling him she can't give an exact date of when that happened? When he mentioned Shanann and the girls' names. It's because she knows that she's done something, or there's possible evidence floating around out there that if she commits to a time or a date of when this happened, and then something that she is thinking about in her head that she knows, if that then comes out or is found out, then she'll get caught in a lie. On an exact date. To be honest with you, on an exact date. Not about an exact date, to be honest with you. But to be honest with you, an exact date of when that happened. No, on an exact date. It happened on an exact date. It happened on an exact date. She knows, she's thinking about when it happened. She knows when it happened. She knows exactly when he told her his wife and kids' names. On an exact date. She knows on an exact date. When that happened, she knows an exact date of when that happened. To be honest with you. On an exact date of when that happened. I don't know. She knows. She 100% knows. Kevin never asked her for an exact date. Excuse me, Nicole. He didn't ask you for an exact date. He just asked you if it happened, not when it happened. But your brain has gone to exactly an exact date of when that happened. And it's when that happened. I don't know. No one asked you that, mate. No one freaking asked you that. He asked if he told you. If he mentioned it. Not when. But your brain has gone to an exact date of when that happened. That's your exact words. On an exact date of when that happened. I don't know. How convenient. And so, why would that matter? Why would it matter if you knew on an exact date or not if that happened? He didn't even ask you when that happened. He asked you if it happened. The answer was yes. That's another test you can do, right? So you look at the question, okay? Did he mention the children's name or the significant other's name? That's the question, okay? Yes. Yes. That is a complete answer to that question. It's reasonable. It's confident. It's certain. It's complete. Yes. Not Nicole. I didn't know his significant other's name for a while, and then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. But to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know. What? This woman is bonkers, and it's because her brain is scrambling. You know when you see a duck and you see them on top of the water and they're gliding over the water like that, and then if you have like a camera pan down to underneath the water and their legs are going like this. She's like a duck. Her brain is like the legs, right? She's freaking out. She's freaking out, and I would love to have a baseline on her. You don't need one, like I said, for statement analysis. You don't need a baseline because the analysis provides its own baseline. The context is the baseline, right? But I would love I would love to. Oh, we kind of do, actually. Because we have that recording on Chris's phone that we've heard. Yeah, she's exactly, in my opinion, allegedly, she's exactly the kind of person that she seems like from this analysis. If you know, you know. You know what I mean. You know what I mean when I say that. You know. So, yes, is a perfectly acceptable, reasonable, whole, and complete answer to that question. But she can't say yes because she's freaking the flip out. She is scrambling. She's little duck feet right now. So she doesn't want to say yes. She just doesn't want to say yes. Why? Why don't you want to say yes, Nicole? Why don't you want to say yes? Because does that look bad for your narrative? Does that look bad for your image? Because if he told you his wife and kids' names, then you should have thought on that and reflected and felt guilty about the family and the wife and the children of the man that you were trying to steal. And maybe you should have felt bad about that and maybe not pursued him. So because that's not what happened, you don't want us thinking about the fact that you didn't do that. Is that why you can't say yes? Is that why you want to make it sound like he didn't tell you their names for ages or something? Like you didn't know, because you did know. But you can't say yes, even though you have said he told you. Why don't you just say yes? This is a law of economy too. Because like I said, you read the question, you look at the question, and then you think about what would be the shortest, simplest answer to that question, which is yes, which is one word, right? One word could answer that question. And instead, let's count, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Because it's only a couple of sentences, it doesn't seem that long, but when you count the words versus one word, yes, or 40 words, which was her chosen answer, doesn't look good, Nicole. Doesn't look good, Nicole. Allegedly, in my opinion, it doesn't look good. So she's playing with time again. She's brought up the topic of time and made an excuse for herself when it was not even asked. It was not relevant to the question. The timeline of this is sensitive to her. It is so sensitive to her. To tell us she's being honest would lead me in the direction of the opinion that she is not being honest here. In the context of knowing the girls' names, the timeline is in question here now. I don't know, in reference to when, not if. When she found out the names is of great sensitivity to her. She does not mention whether or not she was told their names. Oh, yes, she does. Sorry. She mentions that he told his kids' names pretty quick. She doesn't mention when. She doesn't want to mention when. I'm getting extremely tired. Okay, let's do a little bit more. My last couple of videos have been about 2 hours. Like I said, I'm really in a lot of pain tonight. I'm feeling very tired, possibly because of the pain. Let's just go through a little bit more, because I don't think these next bits are as in-depth in terms of analysis and the information that we're extracting. So let's just go through a little bit more, because I do really want to cover as much as possible and get through this as quickly as we can, because it is going to take a really long time. So the more that we get through, the further we can get, faster. And we're nowhere near the really like all of the most sensitive parts of the story haven't come up yet. In saying that, they actually sort of have, because the beginning of the story is really sensitive to her, because she already knew a lot of stuff that she's trying to pretend she didn't. She already knew who Shanann was. She already knew about the girls. She already knew he was married. She already knew this stuff. So to be fair, the very beginning of the interview, when she's trying to pretend she didn't know this stuff, and she did, that is quite sensitive as well. But obviously the most sensitive part is going to be where, like, the time immediately before and following what happened. And we all know what happened. Okay, so Kevin says, so in May and June, first of all, where do you work? See, oh, I just wish he would just stop. I wish he would stop. Like, he could have asked her this question at the start when he asked her date of birth and her phone number and all that stuff. But he interrupted. So he's completely changed the subject now. But okay, whatever, Kevin. Let's, fine. No worries. Let's just keep going, shall we? So in May and June, first of all, where do you work? Nikki, I work at Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. I'm contracted to Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. So she was contracted there. So she worked for a different company, and she was employed by that company. It's like a recruitment agency type scenario. So when you work for the recruitment agency, and then the company employs the recruitment agency to find them employees to fill positions, and then you go and work for that company, but you're still employed by the recruitment agency, and then the company can take over your employment and offer you a position like directly under them. And then you would sign a contract with them, and you would no longer be working for the recruitment agency. You would now work directly for that company. And usually they do that so that they can vet people and try people out first. So they're not hiring people that after they've already hired them and started paying them and they've got a contract with them, it's not a good fit, or they don't want to continue to employ that person. So it's an easier way. If they're working for an employment agency, they can just ring the employment agency and say, this person isn't a good fit. And the employment agency will take that person out and find them a position somewhere else, right? So she was contracted to Anadarko Petroleum Corporation, but she was employed by someone else. And she doesn't actually say who it is. Notice that? She doesn't say. And you know what? Because he said, where do you work? Not who do you work for? Okay. Do you see the difference? Who do you work for? Well, she works for the company which is contracted out to Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. She doesn't work for them. She works for her employer and is contracted to them. But he says, where do you work? And she works at APC. She doesn't work for APC. She works at. See the difference in the language? Nicole, I work at, not for, Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. And then she corrects herself because she knows that's not true. But because she works at, as in geographically, like physically, at the place that she works is Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. That's where she works, right? But then she's corrected it to, I'm contracted to Anadarko Petroleum Corporation, because she knows she while she works at APC, she doesn't work for APC, right? She knows this in her brain, so she's self-corrected herself there, okay? She won't get caught in a lie, right? So she's corrected herself, but she hasn't told them who she works for, okay? Notice that. Okay, and you work out of an office setting where, is what Kevin says. Nikki, in Platteville, Colorado. So that's obviously where that APC site was. They're not there anymore, I don't think, anyway. Kevin. Okay, and Chris also works out of that location per se. Nicole, yes, yes. Now she repeats yes when he's asked about the location. Now that was the location of the bodies. She's overly confirming here that he's associated with that location. And Kevin says location here, right? Now she knows at this point. Yeah, she knows at this point that he's confessed, I think. I think it comes out later. She knows that he's confessed. And she's double confirming here with yes, yes, yes. Now, remember in the last question, I said yes was a complete and reasonable and whole answer. Well, she said it here. She says it with conviction. And she says it with absolute certainty. Yes, yes, yes. She said it twice when Kevin's referred to the location. That's important. She wants to associate Chris with this location. Why? This location is where the bodies were found. Okay? That is plain and simple. There's no other way to interpret that. There's no other way to interpret that language. That's what that means. Because Kevin has used the language of location. Out of that location. Yes. Yes. She doesn't have to say it twice. He's in the field, but he comes into the office with his team. Even more so. Because where were they found? In the office? Were the bodies of the girls and Shanann found in the office? Nope. Where were they found? They were found in the field. Out on a location, on a site. In the field where he worked. Because that's what he did. He worked out in the field on sites. Cervi sites. And that's where they were found. Yes, yes. He's in the field, but comes into the office with his team. So she's emphasizing the fact that he works out where the bodies are found. This woman is despicable, honestly. She is so disgusting, in my opinion, allegedly. How many minutes in is this like 5 minutes into the interview? Like 7 minutes in? How far into this interview and she's already said, yes, he works out where the bodies were found? Are you... Oh, man. I feel... You know what? I don't feel sorry for him. But it's funny that she's thrown him under the bus so hard. Like, I don't think he thought that she would do that. I don't think he thought she would do that. I wonder if he's heard these interviews. I wonder if he's aware of what she said in these interviews. Like, I wonder if he's had access to internet or people have sent him transcripts or anything. Because he did turn on her and say she was a Jezebel. Was it a Jezebel, he said, I think? A harlot? I don't know. Pretty sure it was a Jezebel. Because he's realized, I think he realized that she just torched him. She just torched him, completely torched. It doesn't get, I mean, it does actually, because I know what's coming. It does get worse than this. It does. She throws him under the bus. So like she's thrown him under the bus, and then she's driving the bus. So she's thrown him in front of, under the wheels, and she's in the bus driving over him. That's how hard she threw him under the bus. Like, to save herself, she literally drowned him. Unbelievable. And he took all of the blame. Like, she didn't have to throw him this hard. He took all of the blame. But she's throwing him so hard. It's so unnecessary. It just shows who, like, the kind of person she is. Man. He comes into the office with his team, okay? I'm not going to go into that too much. The main part is the yes, he's in the field. He's in the field. In her mind, she's picturing him out on the site with the bodies. Because he's currently in the field. Not he works out in the field. Or he's mostly in the field. He's in the field. So she's literally picturing him out there and throwing him, basically saying he works out where the bodies were found, and picturing him out where the bodies were found in her mind while she's saying it. With the full intention, with the complete and full intention of it being put two and two together. That's where the bodies were found. Oh man, she's hideous. Okay. I mean, he deserves it. He deserves it. But she also deserves to be held accountable, allegedly, in my opinion. So she's so disgusting the way she does this. Whatever her extent is of her involvement, it's, oh man, it's just unreal that she can do this, what she's doing with her language and just trying to set him up. He's already confessed, man, and she's trying to set him up in her language. She's trying to say he did it in her language without saying he did it. Like, oh, I never saw any of this coming. I can't believe it. But he works out where the bodies were found. Yeah, he works out there. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know. He didn't even tell me. He didn't even tell me he was married right away. Just unbelievable. Now, actually, it's funny that I said that none of this was really that deep, because I think some of this actually is really important. This part right here. Kevin, so you work, what is your job responsibility? Now, she's duck feet here, like massively duck feet, okay? Because I think, allegedly, in my opinion, this is where she had something to do with choosing that site, right? She had something to do with planning for that site to be the place because of what's coming next, all right? And she's scrambling, she's panicking, and it's really sensitive to her. So she said here, so you work, what is your job responsibility? I do health, safety, and environment. Now, I know that I don't do tone and sound and that stuff. It's just purely language and words and statement. But I remember from the video that she trips over this sentence. Like, she trips over it. She can barely get that out coherently, okay? So first, what is your job responsibility? Now, she doesn't answer the question, okay? She answers with her job sort of description or like her job title, right? What's your job responsibility? I do health, safety, and environment. Now, allegedly, in my opinion, everything that I say in this video is opinion and alleged, right? But Chris said that he was coming out to, like, we know certain information from, because we just know, because of hindsight, right? And case notes and evidence and all that. Okay. So we know that some of Chris's excuse for being out, going straight to site that morning instead of going to the office first was because of an issue out on the site, like a leak, like a gas leak, I think. Now, I don't know anything about their jobs or that company or anything, right? But wouldn't a gas leak stick with me here, right? Stick with me. Wouldn't a gas leak be safety, maybe health, safety, and environment? Wouldn't it be a safety thing? A gas leak? Just saying. Just she almost could not say that in English words. She almost could not complete those words. She had so much trouble. And I do healthy. What? Now, in language analysis, we don't make any assumptions, okay? We can't read minds. We can't read minds, okay? So we don't know when someone stops saying something and corrects, like self-corrects and changes what they were going to say. We're not mind readers, and we can't know what they were about to say when they shifted and changed what they said, right? Because they didn't say it yet. So we can't read their mind. Okay? But health doesn't have a Y on the end. She's not a healthy safety and environment person. She doesn't actually say what that is either. Like, what is the word for when someone does something like that? I'm not sure. Put it down in the comments. Rep? No. Advisor? What's the term for someone who does that, right? But safety has a Y on the end. So she says healthy. Health doesn't have a Y on the end, but safety does. Safety would be the classification of a gas leak, right? So stepping away from the analysis for a second, looking at this, it does seem as though safety was the part that was on her mind when she's trying to say this and can't get it out. Now, does her brain know that the safety part of her job has something to do with what happened? And that is so sensitive to her that it is causing so much stress that it is making her brain misfire and duck feet and can't even speak coherently. And because safety is on her mind, even though she's trying to say health, because it probably is said in that order, like that's probably the order it's in her job description: health, safety, and environment, right? Health, safety, and environment. Health and safety. Health usually comes first in those descriptions. Health, safety, and environment. But because her brain is so focused on the safety part, because that is the part that is sensitive to her, that is stressing her out, that she doesn't want to mention. Don't touch the hot thing. Don't touch the hot thing. You'll get burnt, right? She's trying to touch the hot thing here, and her brain's going, don't touch the hot thing, don't touch the hot thing. And so she's accidentally said healthy because she's thinking of safety this whole time. Don't say safety, don't say safety, don't say safety. Don't think of a pink elephant, right? I think that's huge. I think that is huge. Like huge. The fact that where they were found, the excuse he gave to go there first thing Monday morning, and the fact that she, officer, is that what it's called? Health, safety, and environment officer? What is the term for that? So she is the health, safety, and environment person. Would she have to process orders on safety issues? Would she have to write what's it called, like raise tickets to fix safety issues, or raise like alerts about safety issues? Is she the one that has to report them, log them, issue them? I would like to know exactly I would like to know exactly how her position was involved with gas leaks out on Cervi sites. Please and thank you. I just want to sit here for one more second on that one, all right? Because I want people to understand how huge that is. That she could barely get that word out, and she tripped up on that word, and it sounds like she is very, very concerned with the safety part of that job title or description. Okay, now that we've had a minute, I'm just going to put a big asterisk there because that is massive. We're about to get some really sensitive language coming up as well. And it's interesting that it directly follows this. Kevin, our mate Kevin, just doesn't even pick up on that. Just, oh, okay. So you work in the office and you take care of health, safety for Anadarko is an oil and gas company, right? Yes, is what Nicole says. What part of that question is she answering, Kevin? Because there's 3 questions there. Do you want to perhaps ask one question at a time? Because if you're in court, that would be called, what's it called? Oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called. In court, Kevin, that's called, I don't remember. I think it's compound. Is that what it's called? It's more than one question in a question. So in court, when you're on the stand, right, and they ask you questions, they have to ask you one question at a time, because part of the whole reason for that, and this is very interesting, is because you can lie by answering one part of the question and not another part. So in court, when you're on the stand and they ask you questions, they have to ask you very clear questions one at a time. So when you answer the question, it's you're answering that clear question. Because I could say, where do you live and what time did you get home last night? I got home at 9 o'clock. Where do you live? Didn't answer it. 2 questions. 2 questions in one. Okay? And that's a lot of the reason how people ask, lie. That's a lot of the reason. I'm getting very tired. That is how people lie a lot of the time. They answer a certain part of a question, not the whole thing. And a lot of the time they just get away with it because people aren't listening properly, or people don't, you can't, in real life, you can't force someone to go back and answer every single part of the question, right? Because it's not a courtroom. So that's how people get away with lying a lot of the time. And it's funny because in court, when you put your hand on the Bible, when they swear you in, you put your hand on the Bible and they say, do you swear to tell the truth? No, that's not it. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Now, I was always confused about why they say it like that. And the reason is because that's all the different ways people lie. Do you swear to tell the truth? The whole truth. So don't leave things out to try and get around stuff and lie by not mentioning stuff, lie by omission. And nothing but the truth. So only the truth. Don't filibuster and add in all these extra things to confuse everybody and like the unnecessary language. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's how people are sworn in on the stand. That's how people lie. And that's what she's done here, because he's asked her, so you work in the office? That's one question. And you take care of health safety for Anadarko? That's the second question. And he's overlapped himself. My God, Kevin. He's referring to Anadarko here. Is an oil and gas company, right? That's the third question. Yes. We can assume, and this is how these people get away with lying like this, you assume she's answering yes to all 3 of those questions. Okay? You assume she is. But she's not. Because she's only possibly answering 1 or 2 of those questions. She might not be answering all 3 of those questions. But because you've asked a compound question and there's more than one question in that question, she can get away with an answer like that. And it sounds like she's answering the whole question, all of the questions. So you're doing health safety in the office and Chris works in the field. Yes. So she's doing health and safety in the office, right? And she said yes, because that's what he asked her. She's doing health and safety in the office and Chris works in the field. Okay. But is she doing health and safety for only office-related things? Or is she doing health and safety related to everywhere in the company and out in the field and maintenance on equipment that they use and everything related to safety inside the office and out in the field from the office? Because the way he's asked her is that she works in an office and she's confined to the office. So her scope of her job only extends to the office. That's what it sounds like here. Am I wrong? So you're doing health safety in the office You stay in the office, you're in the office, you work in the office, and Chris works in the field. Yes. But you've just said Chris also comes into the office with his team. So Chris also works in the office and from the office. But you've just said, yes, he works out in the field. But he does both. And then you've made it sound like your job is only office related, Nicole. But this is because this is what Kevin has asked her. So she said yes. That she just works, since she does health and safety not from the office, in the office. And Chris works in the field, outside, in the field, out there. She works in the office, inside. And yet her job inside the office could be related to all things outside the office, including gas leaks at certain sites, at certain times. Okay, let's move on. This is Kevin again. What kind of job does he do? What kind of job does he do? Nicole. He's an operator. So I don't know like all of his daily duties, but he's a field operator. So he works with like the oil wells. Okay, here's the other part that is extremely sensitive. There's two things that are the highest in the sensitivities of all of the sensitivities, or the red flags you could call them, right? These are the biggest, reddest flags. There's two. One of them is saying you left somewhere, like I mentioned earlier, to get somewhere else, when you have to leave that place to go somewhere else, to get somewhere else. You can't not leave that place. So saying you left somewhere to go somewhere else, that is one of the reddest red flags, okay? Because that means there's missing information every time. Like I mentioned before, sometimes it can be innocent, like you just couldn't find your car keys, or you couldn't find where you parked your car, and so you're wandering around the car park for 20 minutes. You know, maybe you were late, maybe you're worried you were going to... Doesn't matter. We're not going to go into that. That's one of the reddest red flags. The other reddest, giantest, reddest red flag is to explain why without being asked. So anywhere where someone says they left somewhere to go somewhere else, and anywhere someone says because, so, to, any of those words that mean because, without being asked. So if someone says, why did you go outside? And I said, because I heard a noise and I wanted to check what it was. That doesn't count because I was asked why I went outside. But if someone said, so what happened last night? And I said, I went outside because I heard a noise and I wanted to see what it was. Now, me going outside is sensitive to me for some reason. So you would ask more questions about that to find out why it's sensitive to me. And it might not be malicious or nefarious. It might not be criminal. It might not be a big deal. But something is sensitive to me. And that's why I've explained it without being asked. Maybe I wasn't supposed to go outside after a certain time. Maybe I wasn't supposed to unlock the door. Maybe I got specifically asked not to do that. And so I did it. And so because I know that I wasn't supposed to, then I it's sensitive to me because I know I wasn't supposed to. So then I explain why I did it without being asked. Because I know I wasn't supposed to go outside. But I heard a noise and I wanted to see what it was. Does that make sense? She does that here. Okay, she's about to do it. She's about to do it twice in one sentence. That is extremely, extremely sensitive. This is a major red flag, okay? And it's come at the same time where she's talking about what she does, which is safety. And the safety could be part of the story they cooked up about why someone had to be in a certain place at a certain time. And that's where the bodies were found. It's just saying. This is the sentence, okay? This is the red flag sentence. He's an operator. So Chris will just quickly repeat what Kevin has asked. What kind of job does he do, Chris? Nicole. He's an operator. The end. Nope. It's not the end. That's an answer to the question, though. That's a complete answer to that question. And following the law of economy, that would be an appropriate answer. That would be an expected answer. What we get is an unexpected, because there's extra words, there's extra language, which is always important and sensitive. And we get huge red flags in this extra language, okay? What kind of job does he do? He's an operator. That's the answer to that question, all right? Here's what she says. He's an operator. So I don't know, like, all of his daily duties, but he's a field operator. So he works with, like, the oil wells. If you're watching this video, you are on Watts Island, like myself. You are suspicious of certain people who have not been investigated thoroughly, properly, whatever, however you want to put that. Or at all. Investigated at all. Really? Actually? Now, why on earth would she feel the need to mention this? Because if you're watching this video, you know where they were found. I know, I don't know if you got goosebumps and your hair on your arms stood up like mine did when I went through this sentence. When I just read that to you and I said to you, why would she feel the need to point out that he works with the oil wells? That's not the answer to the question she was asked. She was asked, what kind of job does he do? And she answered it. He's an operator. Then, so is like because. She's done it twice here. She's not been asked any follow-ups here. She asked what he does. He's an operator. Then she continues, so that's the same as because. So to that, the same as because. She's giving a further explanation without being asked. I don't know, like, all of his daily duties, but so she doesn't know, like, I don't know, like, what he does. Like, I don't know, like, everything that he does. But refutes everything that came before it. So you can just cancel out what she's just said, because what comes next is the important part, right? But he's a field operator, okay? She could leave it there again. He's an operator. I don't know, like, all of, and she doesn't have to say so. So makes it so important. So makes it extremely important, okay? Because she could say he's an operator. I don't know, like, all of his daily duties, but he's a field operator. She doesn't need to put so in there, but she does. So I don't know, like, all of his daily duties. So she's not telling us any of his other daily duties. She's not telling us any of his other daily duties. Any of them. Oh, so I don't know, like, all of them. Well, you're not telling us any of them, right? But, so that was all crap. She didn't need to say any of that. That was just to set up this. Oh, I don't know, like, all of his daily duties, but I know this. But he's a field operator out in the field. Remember where the bodies were found? Out in the field, right? So, again, because that's not enough, she's got to keep going. He works with, like, the oil wells where the bodies were found. So the only thing that she tells us that he does, of all of the things, I don't know all of them, but he does this one thing. Yes, over here, remember? He's in the field. Yes, he works in the field. He's an operator. He's a field operator in the field. So like, he works with the oil wells. I just couldn't believe when I was analysing that bit. I just couldn't, I can't even talk now. Remember when I said she threw him under the bus and then drove over him? She is unbelievable. And I want to know what her job had to do with the Cervi sites and the oil wells and the gas leaks. I want to know what her job had to do with the gas leaks out on the oil sites. I want to know. Because she is pushing so damn hard. And she nearly choked on her own tongue trying to say that she worked in health and safety and environment. She didn't want to say that out loud. Oh, I'm mad. Oh, I'm so mad. All right. I have done more analysis on this section line by line and broken down. But I'm going to leave it at that for this video because we're coming up for 2 hours. And I think it would take quite a bit longer to go through because there's a number of sentences there. I sort of took a big chunk and then quickly just went through it just now because I really wanted to get to that bit in this video because it goes hand in hand with the safety. Yes, he's in the field. I do healthy environment. And then, yeah, he works with the oil wells. I don't know, like, all of his stuff he does, but I know that he works with the oil wells. You know the oil wells? You know those oil wells where the bodies were found? Yeah, those. I know he works with those. Does she know, at the point of this first interview, and I mean, I can go back and check the times as well, because they're times stamped on the video, but does she know where they were found at this point? Like, does she know, because I'm pretty sure she knows he's confessed, but does she know where they were found? So is she saying this knowing that that's where they were? Like, that's where they, knowing that they know that's where they were? Or is she saying this and knowing that they don't yet know where they were. I don't think it matters. No, it does matter. I think they already know where they were. And I think that's why she's saying it like this. Because if they didn't know where they were, I don't know if she would have mentioned that. Because then that would be knowledge of where they were, and then that would look suspicious. So I think they already know, they've already found them, or they already know where they were. Yeah, I think they've already found them at this point. I think they've already recovered them, if I remember correctly, from at the time of this interview with Nicole. I'm pretty sure they found them already. So yeah, that makes sense. But wow, how funny that how hard she throws him under the bus. Okay, so I will mark this one. Okay. And yeah, please like and subscribe to this channel so you get you click the notification bell. It will notify you when I upload a new video so that you can get these obviously in order and you don't miss any. And if you're looking forward to them coming out and listening to them straight away, you'll be notified when they come out. If you can like them, share them, that's great. I think I've already had a couple of shares on the first video, which is really great. I didn't expect to get shares so quickly, so that's good. If you've got any of those hype points or whatever, if you want to use them, that would be great to get this video seen by some more people. Obviously, I haven't had a lot of views on the first one yet because I don't have any subscribers. It's obviously a brand new channel. I just want to say thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for coming back, if you've come back. If you haven't come back and this is the first time you're seeing me, please go back and watch from the start and see the rest of the analysis. The first video is a little bit of an introduction, obviously, because it's the first video. So the analysis starts about 24 minutes in, I think. It's starting to get, it's starting to move a bit faster now with the interview because it's getting into it sort of more so. More information. She's going to begin to talk more now moving forward. And obviously, the further we get into it, the closer it gets to the important time of, you know, the story, I guess. Yeah, look, I'm going to leave it there. I'm super tired and thank you so much for being here. I would love to hear anything that you have to say about the case, about the analysis, anything. Like I've mentioned before, if you have something to add to the analysis, if you pick something up, if you hear something and you want to add it, if you can put a few asterisks, like 2 or 3 asterisks, and then write analysis and then write your comment, then I can see which comments want to suggest or add something to the analysis. And if it's sort of like, if it's correct, if it is something that you've picked up that follows along with all the rules of the analysis and stuff, and it's legitimately a good I'm so tired. If it's a good point, if you've found something that we've missed, I'll pin it so that people can see it. And then when I do my little updates and stuff, I will put it in. Like I'll mention it in the video or I'll insert it or whatever. I don't know what we're going to do yet. I just do these in one take. Like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I can't edit. It took me 4 days to upload my first video. So yeah, just bear with me. Hopefully we can create a nice little community. I'd love to have some comments and interact with people. If I do get some subscribers and I get some people that are like watching every video and want to discuss things and comment, I might look at doing some lives or something, and then I can answer questions in the comments and things as we go, and we can have a bit of a discussion. at this point, like I said, no one's watching. I think I've got a few views on the first one, so it's not terrible. But it's like I said, it's a brand new channel. It's going to take some time for people to see it, I guess. So the more that you can share it and watch it and hype it and like it and comment and all the things would be very helpful. I'm going to go. I'm not going to carry on too much longer now. I'm not going to rant because I can tend to rant a little bit. Anything else I want to mention before the end of this video? I don't think so. I think we went over a couple of things. Look, there's a few things that I noted from the other videos, but maybe if we do a live, we can mention them in that, or I can pop some things. I can pin comments and like add comments onto my videos and sort of pin them to the top if there's any little things I want to add, I guess. But yeah, I'm just glad that people are starting to watch this. If there's any channel that you think you would like to see them watch this, like I said before, I'm happy for any channel to do commentary on this video or watch this video. I'm more than happy for other channels to do that. The more people that see this content, the better, I think. Like I said, the whole point I'm doing this analysis was I started just doing it for myself because I was interested and I wanted to see what I could find. And I just was finding so much information that I think if this case does get reinvestigated or reopened, then this analysis could genuinely be really helpful to the people that are involved, to people that are involved in the investigation. And if this helps in any way, that would be the best thing that I could hope for from these videos. I will be doing other videos on other cases after this is finished, but my main goal was to get this information to the people who might be able to use it to actually do something with it. And trying to send it out to other places wasn't working. So I figured I just had to set up my own channel and just post the videos and hope that they get into the right hands and get seen by the right people and that they can help in some way. So language analysis is very time consuming and it can be very expensive. So this is free. To anyone who can use this for this case, for anyone who this can help, this is free. This is a gift to you. And like I said, the best that I could hope for from these videos is that they actually do make a difference and help in some way. So if you can like and comment and share and hype and all the things, I would be forever grateful. Thank you very much for being here and watching me and listening to me. And I will see you in the next one and all of the ones to follow. Thank you so much. See you later.